For 2 years, a 25-member Reparations Commission has been meeting in North Carolina to discuss potential reparations for Asheville. It appears as though they're getting closer to coming to a full decision and giving a recommendation to elected officials to put something into actual legislation. But so far, here are 3 key points that they're demanding. First, a business center that is exclusively for black businesses only. Then you have money to fix up black neighborhoods. Not sure how they would determine what a black neighborhood is or is not. And then the third point would be cash payments or check payments with no work requirement, no anything attached to it, just free money.
Asheville's Reparations Commission is recommending the city launch a guaranteed direct cash payment program as part of its reparations program.
Specificity of the grants is one of the things that makes our cash payments really different.
Mullins says the program would support low-income individuals in a guaranteed income pilot program to ensure basic needs for individuals are met.
At this point, the Reparations Commission is potentially looking at taxpayer dollars to fund the cash payment program.
I think that the folk who benefited from causing the disparities are the ones who should take the lead in closing the disparities. The taxation approach is just one approach for those public and private sector entities to begin closing the gap.
Durham did a pilot program giving cash to incarcerated individuals coming out. Its cash payment programs, Mullins says he supports. The exact amounts to be determined as discussions now go to elected officials.
Of course, this is not the only reparations conversation going on within government. In San Francisco, the Reparations Board is demanding payments of $5 million to every eligible black adult, the elimination of personal debt and tax burdens, guaranteed annual incomes of at least $97,000 a year for 250 years, and homes in San Francisco would go for $1 a family if a black family was purchasing that home. In Chicago, they're discussing eliminating property taxes based on race.
We put up that sign there.
New billboards are up on the corner of Chicago and Austin to bring awareness in the fight for reparations.
We're on this campaign to be able to get black Chicagoans not to have to pay property taxes.
Re-ran Reconstruction-era Reparations Act Now founder Howard Ray Jr. says the push for reparations is for those who are descendants of slaves. His team says slavery took away the ability to create generational wealth for blacks, and those in Chicago are living that reality.
We have a problem where our black citizens in Chicago are being kicked or forced out of Chicago, and they're going to the southern states to live comfortably.
Re-ran says they want all black Chicagoans who own property to be exempt from paying property taxes. The group wants to make this a referendum on the November ballot. They say they will use census data to track descendants of slaves who would qualify for this regardless of financial status, and that if voted into action would last for generations.
We have talked about 400 years.
In Boston, they're demanding $15 billion in reparations, and they're saying that it is just the start and there'll be much more to come. One of the things being discussed in Boston is also creating a black bank.
Boston People's Reparations Commission met with clergy and community members today to continue its push for reparations in the city. The grassroots organization has called on the city of Boston to pay $15 billion for its role in slavery. Organizers say the demand is just an initial payment and still would not be enough to make up the impact of slavery on black Bostonians.
Obviously, it is incalculable. It is impossible to put any dollar number on what African Americans have gone through in this country.
What we're doing is we're mobilizing, having conversations, educating the community about Boston's role in the transatlantic slave trade, the disparities within the communities, and we're working towards gathering stories to figure out solutions.
The money would go toward residents and institutions and address racial inequities in the city. The commission has been advocating for cash reparations since 2018.
So we call on the white church in Boston to join us in supporting a black reparations movement.
Standing in solidarity, clergy leaders from across the city of Boston gathered for an interfaith multiracial meeting at the Resurrection Lutheran Church in Roxbury, Nubian Square. They're here to ask the religious community to atone for black Boston suffering and support black reparations.
And we are coming, as Dr. King said, to get our check.
Organizers from the Boston People's Reparation Commission say they're also following up on their demand on the city of Boston for a $15 billion initial payout to begin the process towards repair and reconciliation to the city's black community.
$5 billion as initial payment around cash payouts, $5 billion around strengthening our financial institutions, creating a new black bank, $5 billion in terms of addressing issues of the education achievement gap between blacks and whites.
Maryland has also had a recent push for reparations.
Baltimore City Delegate Alethea McCaskill is leading the push for reparations in the Maryland legislature. She's in Prince George's County today to collect the full support of the Prince George's County Council.
Reparations for the descendants of the enslaved are not about handouts or empty gestures. They're about recognizing the unpaid debts owed to the descendants of those who suffered the yoke of slavery.
Prince George's Council member Juanica Fisher has introduced a resolution with unanimous support from the rest of the council, which states that the Prince George's County government wants the legislature to pass a bill setting up a reparations commission to figure out how reparations should be paid.
There's not one simple solution that's going to make people whole. The bill has many recommendations, from whether it's free college access, payment, whether it could be cash payments for lost wages, equity loans.
In New York, they have a commission that's currently examining what they're going to do with reparations.
President of the Urban League of Rochester, Chanel Hawkins, has been named to the state's commission to study reparations and racial justice. Governor Kathy Hochul and legislative leaders announced appointments to the 9-member commission this afternoon. Dr. Hawkins is a native of Brooklyn, New York. In 2019, she became the first woman CEO of the Urban League here in Rochester. News 8 spoke to Hawkins when the bill was signed into law last December.
My hope is that Rochester will have some representation on that commission so that we can really learn specifically about what can we do here in Rochester and what funding is available to help in our community. We hope that this will be the interruption to racism, but also looking at inequities and creating and exploring real pathways of those that have been impacted by slavery.
Then we have a bill in Georgia that would set up a reparations commission, much like the other states did.
A bill to create the Georgia Equity and Fairness Commission. House Bill 955 would allow that commission to look at the impact of Georgia's slavery on the descendants of slaves, and then finding the appropriate remedies for those descendants.
And then we have maybe the most laughable of the bunch. They are demanding $4.9 trillion in reparations for Barbados.
On behalf of my nation, we call for global moral strategic leadership, because what the world needs now more than ever is people who understand that principle must guide actions. The debt, estimated because we were the home of modern racism. That's where it was first institutionalized, on a small rock in the middle of the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. 166 square miles. More or less the size of the Gaza Strip. $4.9 trillion.
To close out this video, let's take a look at a classic skit from The Chappelle Show about reparations.
Our top story, as we all know, Congress recently approved paying over $1 trillion to African Americans as reparations for slavery. Well, today, the first checks were sent out.
The money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
Right, baby, I just bought this truck straight cash. And I got enough cigarettes to last me and my family for the rest of our lives. I'm rich, biatch.
These checks aren't just affecting things on Beach Street. Wall Street is having a big day as well.
Get this, Sprint stock has skyrocketed after the news that 2 million delinquent phone bills have been paid just this morning. Incredible. Gold is way up. Diamonds are at their most expensive level ever. Catchphrase around here is certainly bling bling.